for today is how hyperinsulinemia lead to hyperandrogenemia. Okay, so firstly, to know that, we should know what insulin resistance is. It is a condition in which endogenous or exogenously administered insulin has less than normal effects on fat, muscle and liver. Okay, so insulin is being administered or it is endogenously produced, but it has less than normal effect on the following tissues: fat, muscle and liver. Okay, so what effect is there of insulin on fat, and what is there on muscle, what is there on liver, we will get to know soon. So there is prevalence of insulin resistance in PCOS with 50 to 75%, and the patients with PCOS which are having impaired GTT 31%, and patients which are having diabetes mellitus with PCOS, they are 75%. So coming on to how hyperinsulinemia lead to hyperandrogenemia. So HI is hyperinsulinemia, IGF-1 is insulin-like growth factor. Okay, so IGF-BP is insulin-like growth factor binding protein, SHBG is sex hormone binding protein. So now, whenever there is hyperinsulinemia, there is increased IGF-1 that will lead to theca cell stimulation, and thus, because theca cells are the one which are responsible for androgen production, so because theca cell stimulation is happening, there will be increased androgen production. So increased insulin that bind to insulin receptors on theca cell and interstitial cells at very high concentrations, it binds to IGF-1 receptors, okay, and which are structurally similar to insulin receptors. Hyperinsulinemia leads to decrease in IGF binding protein. This in turn leads to increase in IGF-1. Again, that IGF-1 is responsible for theca cell stimulation. Another thing, hyperinsulinemia is associated with decreased SHBG, as we have already discussed in our previous videos the effect of SHBG. And decreased SHBG in turn leads to increased free testosterone free androgens. Okay, so this is how hyperinsulinemia, that is, will lead to hyperandrogenemia. Either it will increase IGF-1, or it will decrease IGF binding protein, or it will decrease sex hormone binding globulin. So now we will be discussing about these two pathways. Okay, the classic action of insulin are mediated via its receptor and two distinct intracellular pathways. Okay, there are two distinct intracellular pathways by which insulin acts. Okay, one is phosphatidyl inositol 3 kinase pathway. Okay, and another is the mitogen activated protein kinase pathway. Okay, so phosphatidyl inositol 3 kinase pathway mediates the metabolic effect of insulin, the metabolic, okay, and the mitogen activated protein kinase pathway mediates the proliferative action of insulin. Okay, so insulin has proliferative action also, insulin has metabolic effects also. Okay, so I'll be explaining these two pathways. As we can see here, under normal condition, insulin binds to its receptor. This is the insulin, and it is binding to its receptor, which is leading to tyrosine phosphorylation. Okay, it induces a conformational change resulting in tyrosine phosphorylation of receptor and protein substrates, which bind and serially activate phosphatidyl inositol 3 kinase and AKT. Okay, which is an effector molecule. AKT, this is an effector molecule that plays major role in signal transduction for glucose metabolism. Okay, so AKT activation leads to translocation of glucose transporter 4. There is something known as GLUT4. Okay, so this is a major effector molecule which plays role in signal transduction. Watch signal transduction, that is leading to translocation of GLUT4 from intracellular compartment to plasma membrane, increasing the glucose uptake. Okay, so that is the major metabolic action of insulin, to increase the glucose uptake so that the glucose is being utilized. Okay, other effector molecules mediate insulin inhibition of gluconeogenesis and glycogen lysis, stimulation of lipogenesis and inhibition of lipolysis. But what happens in PCOS patients? In PCOS patients, the insulin receptor exhibit increase in phosphorylation of serine residues. So instead of tyrosine phosphorylation, there is serine phosphorylation. Okay, so insulin receptor exhibit increase in phosphorylation of serine residues and decrease in phosphorylation of tyrosine residues. Serine phosphorylation of insulin receptor substrates prevent their binding with phosphatidyl inositol 3 kinase and thereby inhibit insulin signaling. Okay, the signaling which I just now told, the metabolic effects in which the glucose uptake is being done. Okay, so increased serine phosphorylation can also be induced by the free fatty acids. Okay, free fatty acids, high circulating free fatty acid levels can also increase androgen production by inducing serine phosphorylation of P450C17, which results in increased 1720 lyase activity. As we can see here, the 1720 lyase activity is increased by the free fatty acids. So free fatty acids, which are already more in the patients who have PCOS, so they will lead to increase in serine phosphorylation and they will also lead to 1720 lyase, increase 1720 lyase activity. So what is happening here is pregnenolone is coming and it is getting converted to 17 hydroxypregnenolone by activity of 17 hydroxylase, and this 17 hydroxypregnenolone is getting converted to DHEA, dihydroxy epiandrosterone, with the help of 1720 lyase, whose activity is being increased by free fatty acids. Okay, so because of this there is increased production of all the androgens, DHEA, androstenedione and testosterone. Okay, so women with PCOS display both a selective increase in insulin activation of mitogenic pathway via MAPK and resistance in phosphatidyl inositol 3K mediated metabolic pathway of insulin action. This shows how insulin actions can be selectively inhibited and enhanced at the same time via different signaling pathways, explaining how insulin can stimulate hyperandrogenism in a woman who are insulin resistant. So that's all. I hope now you understand how hyperinsulinemia will lead to increased androgen production. Thank you.